So cinema, it's the art of storytelling through moving pictures, music, and sound. Existing for a little over a century, known for amazing storytelling, iconic moments, and loving men, like really loving men. I mean, it's no secret that women aren't really respected in the film industry, and in many movies, women aren't really shown in the best light. In this video, we will be looking at two films and analyzing them with Mulvey, feminist theory, and other theories to analyze women in film. The films we'll be looking at are Transformers, the first one, and Orange Grove, a Nollywood film. Now, if you don't know Mulvey, she is a feminist film theorist known for her groundbreaking essay, Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema. In this work, she introduces the concept of the male gaze, which critiques how mainstream cinema objectifies women, presenting them as passive subjects to be looked at, while positioning male viewers as active participants. Her theory draws on psychoanalytic concepts, particularly those of Sigmund Freud, to explain how films manipulate spectators' emotions and their desires. Mulvey suggests that visual pleasure in film is derived from voyeurism, where men gain satisfaction from observing women as objects without women knowing they're being looked at. Mulvey's work has had profound impact in feminist film theory. There are many other theories which came later that looked at women in cinema in terms of race, intersexuality, stereotypes, objectification, agency, etc. So the first film is Transformers 1. Now the film follows Sam Witwicky, a high school student who buys a car that's actually an automobile. Unbeknownst to Sam, Bumblebee is a part of a group of alien robots led by Optimus Prime, searching for the Allspark, a powerful artifact that could save their homeplanet. Yeah, most of us know the story of Transformers. Now, the main female protagonist in this film is Michaela Barnes. She's played by Megan Fox. Now, in Mulvey's essay, she says that men fear castration, which women represent due to their lack of a penis. So, as a result, women pose a threat to men. And how do they get rid of this threat in film? By objectifying them or punishing them. So she aligns with Mulvey's theory of visual pleasure and narrative cinema. She's presented as an object for the male gaze. So she's fetishized. In the iconic scene where Michaela lifts up the hood of the car, the camera lingers on Michaela's body. You know, that scene where it shows her stomach and then he's just staring at her, fragmenting her into parts and reducing her to an object. This fetishization alleviates male castration anxiety. She also has a lack of agency throughout the film, so Michaela's peripheral to the plot. She's often silent while the men drive the narrative. And we can also look at identification in the film. So Sam, the main character, the male protagonist, he serves as the audience's entry point. He reinforces the patriarchal norms. So he's this average guy that the audience can relate to and put themselves in his shoes, and they have him as the nerdy guy that gets the girl in the end. The second film, Orange Grove, is a romantic drama. It's a Nollywood film where two men work together to get the attention of two very different women. We see fetishization in this film where the film opens up objectifying the women. So we are introduced to Helen, one of the female leads, and her friends having a photo shoot, like this very random photo shoot where their bodies are put on display for the audience. And the characters in the film, like in the first introduction, there are two men talking about her. Oh, she's so hot and she's this girl.
She got a voice. I mean, she got the fluency and the physical rhythm that makes her mainstream. So, like, that is 8,967 mainstream. You are not the only one.
Across and the story, the goals, interests, the opinions of the female characters still revolve entirely around the male characters. Like, so Helen, the whore or femme fatale character, changes from being a sexual party girl to a quiet, modest girl for the male lead, her love interest. And her former personality throughout the entire show is seen as wrong, like despite the fact that sometimes she's justified and her behavior is logical, she's seen as wrong because she's sexual. And we don't hear from Rose outside of her opinion on her male best friend or love interest. The stereotypes of both of these women are seen in Hollywood a lot, and it's seen in Nollywood a lot. So Rose is the virgin, she's a challenge to be conquered, and Helen is the whore to be possessed by a man for some time, which we see as Helen's love interest loses interest in her when she isn't changing fast enough and seems to take an interest in Rose, the quiet, submissive, homely one. The film seems to target the audience to reinforce this idea of the ideal woman being quiet and submissive and not sexual, and men are supposed to figure out what the right type of woman is, and women are supposed to know what the right woman they should be. So Transformers and Orange Grove are similar in the fact that they both portray women as objects who are not entirely central to the plot. It further proves Mulvey's theory and feminist film theory. So both films reinforce negative stereotypes about women. Now, a key difference, however, is while Transformers doesn't really try to present to the female audience, Orange Grove tries to teach women that if you want to be a good woman desired by men, they cannot be sexual, they should be quiet and reserved and homely. This show is a representation of the culture of Nigeria, where women are expected to be more reserved and motherly. They should be conservative and not exaggerant. They should be conservative and not extravagant. And we see this a lot throughout Nollywood movies. So Rose's character embodies this, you know, and the same thing when they try to change Helen, we see them try to reinforce the stereotype. Now, the camera work in Transformers and the way the audience and the main character are used to objectify Michaela is it's the same scene that we talked about earlier, where Sam stares at Michaela's stomach and the audience stares with him. The camera is positioned so that we can stare with him and we can watch him stare, and we share his reaction. So the show stops, like the narrative stops, and Mulvey talks about this. Narrative stops to focus on this scene where both the audience and the cast. And there's also the car scene where Sam asks Michaela to sit in the lap, very random, because she doesn't want to sit in the driver's seat because Bumblebee is driving, and he tells her to sit in his lap so they can have the seatbelt, whatever. And it's really weird because the scene goes dark, and it's dark because they're in the car, it's dark, and they're in a tunnel, and they're like laying on top of each other, and they're just breathing weird. It's a very sexual, unnecessary scene that just further objectifies Michaela and puts her in the sexual narrative, just focusing on our sexuality. Orange Grove does do lots of objectification too. So, you know, it tends to have these long, drawn-out scenes where we have medium close-ups of the characters, but the female characters, but to feed the audience and the character. In conclusion, to conclude, Transformers and Orange Grove is sadly reinforce some pretty outdated stereotypes about women, objectifying them for the male gaze and fitting them into these limiting roles like the virgin and the femme fatales. Mulvey's theory shows us how these portrayals can perpetuate patriarchal views, and the psychoanalytical theory shows how fetishism and identification play a role. And we also looked a bit at the feminist film theory, which highlights, you know, the lack of agency of the characters. The thing is, these films reflect and shape societal attitude. But here's the deal. Cinema is evolving. We've got films challenging these norms, showcasing complex women with agency. Even if it is slow and it's taking time, you just have to wait and see. So thank you guys for watching my video, and see you next time.